Welcome in, everyone. New edition of Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning. So happy you're with us. I'm Steve Kashul, along with my usual co-host, Dr. Brian Cole, sports medicine specialist, orthopedic surgeon from Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, also the head team physician with the Chicago Bulls, co-team physician with the Chicago White Sox. Net proceeds from our show, Sports Medicine Weekly, go to support orthopedic research at Rush through the liveactivenow.org fund. Dr. Cole, how are you?
Doing great this morning, Steve.
Good.
Great to see you.
Fantastic. Good to see you, too. Hey, we're going to get right into it because we've got a great guest on the line. She's always just terrific for our show. But we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of intermittent fasting. Have you ever done it?
I have. So it's interesting. Someone told me about it. I had a couple patients that were doing it. I went online and I downloaded sort of the Cliff Notes version of how to get it done. I did it for 2 weeks, and I decided, so there's different ways to do it, and I'm sure Karen's going to be pretty knowledgeable, but I did it. So I basically did it on a Sunday, and you have to drink, when I did it, you do green tea and some greens. I went out and got green tea, and I went and got greens. Karen's going to love this. And I did it for 2 Sundays in a row, and I don't know. You got to stick with it. I think
the whole day? That's all you did?
Yeah, you did it the whole day. And it's like a 24-hour, I think it was a 24-hour thing, Saturday night till Monday morning, if I'm not mistaken. It could have been Saturday night till Sunday night. I think that's what it was. And I can't speak from experience, only the fact that, like anything, if you're giving yourself a full day of not eating, and I do a little bit of caffeine, there can be a little bit of adjustment, just like when we do, Karen's cleanses. So I'll be super interested to hear what she says about it, because I think there's some science behind it in terms of how you manage glucose and everything else, and I like the concept, and it's doable. So I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Yeah, you got to do it right, and no one knows how to better do it right than Karen Malkin. She is our board-certified holistic health coach, health counselor, and psychology of eating coach, joining us here on Sports Medicine Weekly. She's always a great staple of our show, the benefits of intermittent fasting. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing well, thanks. How
Good.
are you?
Everything's good. So Brian Cole has given us his interpretation of intermittent fasting. Did he do it right? And is it popular these days?
So I'm really intrigued with intermittent fasting, and I've been studying and reading a lot about it and even experimenting myself. Dr. Cole sounds like you did maybe a 24 to a 30-hour fast.
Correct.
So intermittent fasting, there's so many different types. It's basically time-restricted feeding, where you eat your food during a certain window of time each day, and then the remaining hours of the day or the week, you fast. And you're drinking lots of water or non-caloric beverages. So you did green tea and water. So, and this is usually, there's more extreme types of fast where there's actually no water and no shower, and something called a dry fast. You can do days without food. You did 1 day without food. You can do alternating 5-2, where you're fasting for 2 days and feasting fasting for 5 days, feasting for 2 days, where you have these like feast and famine days. Sometimes they do fast with like coffee with MCT oil, so there's no carbohydrates, but on a fasting day. So there's so many different types of intermittent fasting. I highly recommend you consult a trained practitioner if you're thinking about some of the more extreme versions. But the most popular is this, what they call 16-8. And that's a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour window of feeding. And, the healthiest way to do that really is to eat dinner early and do your fast for 12 to 16 hours. And you've done my 14-day transformations, where I do recommend a 12-hour fast where you eat dinner early. It's not healthy to be eating food right before you go to bed, because when you're sleeping, you want to do all your regenerating and your rebuilding, so you don't really want to be digesting when you're sleeping, although there are some strategies where if you choose that, 4 8-hour window, and if it's late at night, then you go to sleep after. I personally don't think it's that healthy to do that. So
what's the basic premise biologically? Why did they come up with it, and what's the benefit in the end?
So it's really best for blood sugar control, because when you're fasting, the body can't get sugar into the cells for fuel. So it's going to use your fat for fuel. Mm-hmm. So even if you eat like vegetables, your body's going to release a surge of insulin. Now, if you eat a pasta meal, you're going to get a huge surge of insulin. Right. So, if you're fasting, you're not getting any surge. And so it's kind of easy. So you're either eating or you're not. And so intermittent fasting stretches the time that you're not eating. Therefore, you're not spiking insulin during that window. And so that can be really helpful for people who are sensitive, who are resistant to insulin, because who are sensitive to insulin instead of being resistant to insulin.
Visiting with Karen Malkin, our board-certified holistic health coach and counselor. I'm Steve Kashul with Dr. Brian Cole at Sports Medicine Weekly on this Saturday morning. Our topic is the benefits of intermittent fasting. And Karen, my question is, who are the best candidates for intermittent fasting?
So the best candidates are people with blood sugar issues. So, research does show that intermittent fasting helps with insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, with autoimmune conditions, with degenerative cognitive conditions such as Alzheimer's disease and dementia, which is now called type 3 diabetes. It helps with sleep quality, weight loss, muscle building, inflammation, and something called autophagy. When the fasts are a little bit longer, closer to 16 hours, it's the recycling and cleansing of your damaged cells, which is really interesting. Autophagy is a big word these days. And
yeah, I can say I've never. How do you wait? Say it slowly.
Autophagy.
You got to spell it.
I think it's ATOPHOGY.
I got to look it up. It sounds like esophagus.
It's autophagy, and what it is it's the recycling of damaged cells. Well, that really interests me. That when you get to a fast about 14 to 16 hours without eating, you can achieve autophagy, which is really the quote health benefits of intermittent fasting when there are medical conditions.
That's fascinating. I'm in. Doesn't that sound appealing though? Really?
So Karen, so let's just. The problem you when you first came on, you were telling us there's like 18 different ways sideways. So I did it because it was just like a Sunday. I could pick a day of the week, and I thought it would be too hard to do during the week when I'm either doing surgery all day, which by the way, your bars are like keep sustaining me, or I'm seeing patients all day, and I'm a little afraid to do it then. So I guess the question is, how do you pick? I'm really interested. It makes sense intuitively to me from sort of glucose management, insulin surge, and all the things you just described. Plus, I just learned a few more things. So, what do you think? Have you there's one author, and I'd have to look, and you may know him, who has probably popularized this the most, and there are some online things that are readily available. So for our listeners and for me, and what if Steve and I want to do it, what do you think, and are you going to build it into your fasts, to your cleanses, excuse me? So what are you thinking?
It's not, I'm thinking more the 16-8, and here's what you need to do. I start with a 12-hour fast, okay, which is normal. This is the way we should be eating, is not late at night. You eat supper, you eat your dinner, and you don't eat again until breakfast.
I could do that pretty much.
Yeah,
if you tell me
that's not that hard, right?
I could do that a couple nights a week, 7 o'clock done, don't do anything till 7.
But a lot of people eat after dinner, right?
Okay,
so they're snacking all night. So if you stop at dinner, which is maybe 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and you don't eat again until 8 a.m., that's 12 hours. And I recommend exercising your fasting muscle. So start with 12 hours, and then have break fast, have your breakfast, and a balanced meal, not all carbs, but some protein, some healthy fats, vegetables, and some complex carbohydrates. And if you feel good after 12 hours, go 14 hours for a few days.
How many times a week? How many times a week?
You can do this every day.
Got it.
You can not eat for 16 hours every day and be completely healthy and fine.
What do you think the benefit would be? What would I experience? Let's assume I have my normal regimen of exercising a couple times a week. I eat pretty well, but I'm going to make sure I'm religious about this block of time where I don't consume anything. What do you think the health benefit will be? What will I feel? What will I see?
You will see probably a leaner body.
Okay, I'm in.
Why not? Yeah.
You might see improvement in sleep, energy,
I need that.
And what happens is At first it'll be difficult to go to 16 hours, likely. Start with 12, then go to 14. Drink a lot of water.
Is water okay? Is water okay during that timeline?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta be, right?
There is something called dry fasting, but I think that's excessive.
All right, so water is green tea okay?
Yeah, green tea is okay, but then, that's going to be a diuretic. So, any non-caloric beverage. So you're void of carbohydrates.
Got it.
So, you can have some coffee, you can have some tea, a ton of water. The more water you drink, the easier it's going to get to 14 hours, the easier to go to 16 hours. Mm-hmm. And then try exercising in a fasted state. Now, not more than an hour of like heavy-duty weights, but for blood sugar metabolism, it's more like an invitation to try this. Try exercising in a fasted state, and as long as you're super hydrated, and then eat your meal after your workout, I would just start experimenting with it and see how you feel. You might find you have more energy, your sleep is better, and I think the blood sugar stabilization, what happens is you're not hungry all the time, and because you're burning fat for fuel. Fat is your low, calm, stable burning fuel, and you don't crave. And so that's probably going to be the biggest thing, is you're going to notice your cravings changing, and you're not hungry all the time because blood sugar is balanced because you're in fat metabolism instead of burning sugars all the time. And so that, I think, you'll notice. At first, you might find that first meal of the day is more like a binge because you could be starving, but that could also mean you're not drinking enough water. So I've been experimenting myself as well, because I've always been a proponent of like eating your meals and not snacking so that you can get into, mini fasts throughout the day, a couple mini fasts.
All right. I know I'm going to have you. I know we're going to have you on the show again very soon. So I'm going to tell you right now this morning that I'm going to do this, and Steve, you're going to do it. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's just try and let's just see what happens, because I can easily exercise in the morning, having not eaten the night before, just water. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm in, and we're gonna be good, disciplined subjects and tell you what we think. Okay. We'll be your guinea pigs.
Let's do a follow-up session.
I for sure want to do it, and then I also want to hear your insights over the next couple of weeks, because I'm getting this a lot in the office and I'm reading about it. So anyway, we appreciate it, and that you're always just an awesome fund of knowledge.
Karen Malkin.
Thank you. It's not for everybody. Can I just say, if somebody with an eating disorder, pregnant, type 1 diabetes, an undiagnosed thyroid condition, children, so it's not for everybody. And talk to your doctor before you start any kind of new regimen like fasting. But that's my disclaimer.
You got it.
Great stuff.
Okay.
KarenMalkin.com is her website, KarenMalkin. Her transformation bars are phenomenal. So we got to take a break. When we come back, it's our Ask the Doctor segment. Great stuff, Karen. Talk with you real soon.
Thank you.
Back with more of Sports Medicine Weekly after these messages.
On the Score 670.